I never imagined I would be sitting here confessing this, but life has a terrifying way of pulling the rug out from under you when you least expect it. My name is Elise. I'm 44 years old, and for the better part of 2 decades, I have been a single mother. It's just been me and my son, Lenny, who is now 22. We survived every storm, every financial hurdle, and every heartbreak side by side. It was always us against the world. But one quiet, suffocating evening, the foundation we had built began to crack. Lenny came home looking entirely drained. The dark circles under his eyes spoke of endless shifts at work and relentless studying. I told him he could rest in my room for a while, just to decompress. As he lay on my bed, I sat beside him. But when he looked up at me, his gaze was different. It wasn't the look of a boy seeking comfort. It was heavy, soft, and laced with a strange, nervous energy. He didn't speak, but his eyes seemed to ask a question I was too afraid to answer. Trying to break the sudden tension, I offered a warm smile, but the silence only deepened, thickening the air in the room. Then, he reached out. His hand rested on my arm, warm, steady, and unmoving. His fingers began to trace absent-minded, gentle circles on my skin. It was such a minuscule movement, yet it sent an inexplicable shockwave through me. My heart started hammering against my ribs. I lay there beside him, paralyzed, desperately chanting in my mind that this was just a mother comforting her exhausted son. But as the silence stretched on, my thoughts spiraled into terrifying, confusing territory. I felt an undeniable, magnetic pull, a closeness that completely crossed the boundaries of anything I understood. The storm breaks. Lenny's breathing was slow, his eyes closed. I prayed he would just fall asleep. But then, his hand slid slowly down my arm. A cold shiver raced down my spine. He opened his eyes and locked his gaze directly onto mine. The vulnerability and questioning desire in his eyes mirrored the exact, forbidden confusion tearing me apart inside. He whispered my name, Elise, not Mom. I wanted to pull away. My mind screamed at me to stand up, to walk out the door, to create a chasm of distance between us. But my body betrayed me. I couldn't move. The air in the room felt like a brewing storm, thick with unspoken, dangerous words. He shifted closer. My breath hitched in my throat as his fingers reached up, gently brushing a stray lock of hair behind my ear. It was a gesture of profound, aching tenderness. His face was inches from mine. I could see the tiny freckles on his nose, the steady rise and fall of his chest. We were suspended in time, teetering on the absolute edge of a line we could never uncross. Suddenly, as if violently waking from a trance, Lenny pulled back. He let out a breathless, nervous laugh, rubbing the back of his neck as a dark flush crept up his cheeks. "Sorry, Mom," he stammered, his voice trembling. "I didn't mean to make things weird." The spell was broken, but the damage was done. I tried to reassure him, my voice shaking. "It's okay, Lenny. We've just been alone together for so long." The interruption before I could finish the lie, the sharp ring of the doorbell shattered the atmosphere. I practically sprinted to the door, my pulse racing, deeply grateful for the sudden escape. It was Mark, our friendly neighbor, stopping by to check our heating for the upcoming winter chill. Mark's familiar, easygoing presence was a massive relief. But as Mark stepped inside and began chatting with me, I felt a heavy, burning stare drilling into my back. From the dark corner of the hallway, Lenny was watching us. His jaw was clenched tight, his arms crossed defensively over his chest. For a fleeting second, the look in his eyes wasn't just confusion, it was raw, unmistakable jealousy. The realization made my stomach drop into a bottomless pit. The aftermath. Once Mark left, the house plunged back into an agonizing silence. Lenny immediately retreated to his room, slamming the door shut with a finality that echoed through the empty halls. Later that night, he finally knocked on my door. He sat on the edge of my bed, staring at his hands. "Mom, I don't know what's going on," he whispered, his voice cracking under the immense weight of his frustration. "I don't know what to do with all these feelings." My heart shattered for him. I wrapped my arms around him in a desperate, protective embrace, trying to anchor us both to reality. "We just need to step back," I told him softly, hiding my own terror. "We don't need to have all the answers right now." He nodded, leaning his head on my shoulder just like he did when he was a little boy. But we both knew the truth. As we sat there in the dark, enveloped in that strange, shifting closeness, I stared blankly at the wall. We hadn't crossed the line completely, but we were standing right on the precipice, and I had absolutely no idea how we were going to step back from the edge.